Okay, so today we're going to move on to look at the tiles on top of this little tower. So I'm going to open up my Tower Stone SBS, which we did in the stone tutorial, and we're going to add a new graph to it. So before I do that, I'm just going to drag and drop this tower into my preview there, and there we go, we have the tower, and then we can add a graph to this. So right click, new, and substance graph, and this one we want to be tile or tiled roof. There we go, and same settings, and click OK, and now we have our tile material ready to go. So the first thing I will do is approximate tiles. So for that we're going to use a tile generator, and we're going to use a gradient. So if I space and type in gradient, you'll see we have a bunch of preset gradients, and I'm going to use gradient linear 1, which is like top to bottom, and then we can plug that into a tile generator. So space and tile, and I'll pick the tile generator at the top of that list there, and then drag and drop that into the shape, into the pattern input node. So on the generator then we need to switch our pattern from brick to image input, and now I've got lots of horizontal lines which don't really make much sense. So let's change the scale of this. So I'm going to collapse pattern, and down in size I'm just going to take that down a bit so there's a little bit of a gap between each tile. There we go. And this gradient is the wrong way around. I want it to be black at the top and white at the bottom. So I'm going to select the gradient, and we'll go down, and there's a rotation option. I'm going to rotate it 180, and now everything's pointing in the right direction. Right, so let's just pop a blend node over here so we don't have to plug too many things in all at the same time. So I'll plug that into that one into color, and then normal, and let's do height, and then I need to right click on these, right click and drag and drop it onto the 3D view, and this will be my roof tile base color. There we go, and then I'll do the same for the normal. Seems to be something wrong there. No, it's fine, just needed recalculating. So we'll drag and drop that on there, and we'll select the roof tile and normal, and then we'll do the height. So drag and drop with the right mouse button, roof tile and height, wherever height's gone. There it is. Okay, so we can see our height settings are a bit nuts. So we need to go to materials, roof tile, edit, and then over here we can reduce our roof tile displacement down to a very low number and increase our tessellation so we get a better result. So now we have what looks like a bit of a Christmas tree on top, which is a little bit over the top, so the height needs to come down even more than that. So let's pay 0.05. even that is too much. Well, it rather depends on, you know, how can I put it, yeah, how exaggerated you want it. I want it a bit less exaggerated than that, so I'm going to go 2.5. No, let's go even smaller. 0.5. 0.25. There we go, not bad. Okay, so now we've got that done, we're going to have a look at the scale of these tiles. So they're a bit big at the moment and a bit chunky, so we'll do that on the tile generator. So I've just double clicked on that, and for this one I'm moderately happy with the amount of tiles going upwards, but not with the amount of tiles left to right. I need, oh no, that's the wrong way, sorry, on the X amount I need more, and that's going to squeeze them up a bit to give me more tiles per roof section. Don't worry that they don't match up at the sides. That is something we're going to deal with when we get into Substance Painter. It's not something I can deal with here, but in Substance I can do, or in Painter rather, I can do a lot. Okay, so with that done, what do we want to do? Well, we want to change our offsets because they're all lining up at the moment. But if I go down to the offset section, or the position section, I can offset everything, which is no good. So we want to offset X. Now I can't really see, so let's have a look. No, not X. I'm obviously having a moment. I am having a moment. Oh, excellent. I love having a moment. Is it offset I want? I'm sure it's offset. I'm not going mad, am I? There we are. Let's have a random offset, and that will do the job. That will split it up and make them all sorts of different sizes, but perhaps not that much. Yeah, I want it to be rough, but I don't want it to be so rough that it's crazy. I'm also getting a bit of doubling up where they're crossing over each other, and I'm rather hoping that if I go down the bottom, yes, we have a blending mode. So currently it's add. If we set it to add sub, it will make no difference at all, and if we go to max, it should take out the high values. So just arrange it how you want it. I've got some bigger tiles and some smaller tiles because some are overlapping. I can take my random position down and my offset up, perhaps just a bit, just until you get the pattern more or less as you want it. Don't worry that they look plain, that's going to be fixed. We will fix that in the next session, where what we're going to do is carve some detail into these pieces. Okay, so we'll do that in the next one, and I will talk to you then. Next then, we'll add some surface detail, and for that we'll need a noise. So I'm just going to hit space and let's type in noise. Oops, not nose. And we'll pick a noise out. And I want something, yeah, I want something that's a little bit directional. So I'm going to pick the crystal because I want to put like a subtle kind of creased undulation on the top of these tiles. So before I adjust this one, I'm going to blend these together. So let's press space and blend, and then we'll pop that one there and we'll pop that one there and see what we can do. So with that, we're going to have a look at our options, and if I hit multiply, we should see that we get quite a broad change, and I don't want a particularly broad change. So what I'm going to do with this is change the size. So if I increase the scale, I'm going to get increasingly finer detail, and if we have a look at there, we should see that we get a lot of noise now. Let's double click on that one, and we can see it over here if I go close up. So we're getting you know, some nice sort of movement there. But I want to control the levels. I don't want there to be any super black in this, and I don't want there to be any kind of really kind of super white bits. I want it to be a nice gradient, because otherwise there'll be too much damage in the tile surface. So let me pull that up and pull that aside, select this noodle and then press space, and we'll use a curves node. So with this curves node, what I want to do is take the black value, let's pop one in the middle, there we go, take the black value and bring it up, and as I bring it up, if I double click on there, we should see the black, you know, the really heavy blacks come out of that merge, and we're just getting a bit more kind of surface detail. Let's double click on that and then single click on this one, and I could even increase my kind of white values, but that isn't really helping me. One thing I'm slightly concerned of is I'm losing some of the gradient element. but I don't think that's really going to make much difference to us. Let's have a look. So if I now plug this new blend into our mixer blend there, we'll see what it does. And now we've got some much rougher tiles, because we're getting far more movement, much more movement rather. So let's go back here and see if there's anything we can do about making this a bit smaller, because they're still too big. So if I go onto my scale there, I can take those up until I'm getting to the kind of values that I want, and if I get to the top and it's not far enough, I'll just type in a higher number and we'll be able to continue. There we go. I can see quite a lot of detail now, and that looks okay. And that detail we should be able to pick up on our normal map. You see, with our normal map we've got our tile shapes, and then we've got our detail in the top of it, and that's going to give a bit of extra, a few extra options, especially when we're texturing. So as we've done previously, I'm going to take the intensity of this normal node and I'm going to expose it as a parameter, and I'll call it normal strength and click OK. There we go. So we'll be able to control that in Substance Painter. So let's just rearrange these. So that's in the top and that's in the bottom, and yes, I might want to take some of the really fine white out of that. So let's go to our curves, wherever that's gone. That's the tile generator, that's the curves, and I'm going to take these values down a little, whoops, including the very top white one. There we go. Okay, right, next then we want to introduce some colour, and we should be able to do that relatively straightforwardly with a colour gradient, and we'll have a look at that in the next one. Okay, so we're going to use the gradient that we used in the stone so that we match up to start with, and then I can adjust it to what I want it to look like. So if I go to my tower stone graph by double clicking on it and zoom into my colour bit, we've got this gradient map here which has mapped all our colours across the gradient. So if I right click and copy that selection and then double click back on my tiled roof, I can paste that in here, and then I can plug my blend in and we'll see what it looks like. So we've got a lot of pale areas and we've got a lot of kind of dark areas, but not very dark. Let's apply it to the colour output and then we'll see what it looks like. Well, it looks terrible, but at least we can see some of the surface detail we've got now, which is terrific. So now we're just going to adjust this by entering into the gradient editor. So the first thing I might think of doing is inverting the positions, and that fixes it to some extent in that our dark bits are dark, in our mortar, but our tiles are a little too how can I put it, pale. So I'm going to grab these pale keys up here, and down here we've got saturation and vibrance, etc. So I can change those, and if I take the delta V down, it's going to darken them up a bit. There we go. And I might take the saturation down a bit as well, until you get to what you want. Now I can see that my gradient here is kind of picking up this middle, which is causing us some bands. So this one here I think might need to move. So what I'm going to do is grab that one and just grab them all and move them down a little bit just to spread the colours about. I don't think this one's, well, that was definitely not needed because I accidentally just added it. So I'll grab that and drag it off. And this one I don't think I need, so I'm just going to press the delete key. There we go. So now we have kind of a matching top, but I'm going a bit too dark, I think. Oops. So I might just select those and bring the delta V up a little bit. Just adjust it until I get to, you know, a happy medium, if you like. And you know, you don't need to use the same colours. I'm using the same colours because it gives me an opportunity to have a nice matching tower. So you know, now I can see, you know, that they kind of live in the same world. You could decide to have a red tile roof, or you know, whatever colour you like. But for this, I'm trying to make it uniform anyway. Right, so let's double click back on that one. I'm trying to look up here and figure out why. Yeah, it's the shine. Okay, so my roughness is messing me up now. It's too shiny, so I want to create some kind of variation in that. So we'll deal with that in the next one. So I'll talk to you in a moment. Okay, so let's drag our roughness onto our model, and then on roof tiles we'll use the roughness channel. There it is, and that will have made not a lot of difference, but some difference. So you can see where it's picking up, but it's very uniform, and what we want to do is make it a little bit more defined. So I'm going to take our blend up here, which is largely black and grey, and plug that one in. And now I've got some very, very shiny bits in the black areas and some quite dull bits in the grey areas, and we want to bring those closer together. So if I select that noodle, and we'll use our curve again, just bring that down so I can see it a bit better. And I'm going to double click on that. Sorry, yes, no, I'm going to double click on that and go down to the curve, and I'm going to bring these values closer together. So what I want is to bring the black up and the white down, but to activate this graph I'm going to just add a node in the middle. So I'm going to bring this up so that the blacks are mostly white, but just retain a little bit of reflection, just a bit, and then we'll take the whites down so that they have a little bit of shine. And if you have a look around, you can even move your light source if you wish. So shift control and right click, and now I can see where I'm picking up my where I'm picking up my highlights, and perhaps they're not quite highlighted enough. So let's go down even further and just then rotate around to see how we're doing. So part of the reason that just moving the white down isn't really helping is because a lot of my areas are in grey. So let's grab this and move that down, and now we should see that we get a bit more of a distinction. There we go. See, I'm getting a lot more kind of shine in there now, and if I bring that up, you should see that shine go away eventually, and down. Just bring it down until you're happy. And this one, this white over here, is largely doing nothing at the moment, but we can bring more areas of grey into that lighter zone by adding a new key and then dragging it down. Not to the same level, because I want them to shine differently, so perhaps not in a linear fashion, but also not, not too distorted. So yeah, I think that looks a bit better now. Now I'm getting a lot of breaking at the edges, you know, that's normal, and you know, we shouldn't and we will not get that in Substance Painter. It's me pulling my shirt again. It drives me nuts when I do that. I notice it far more since I've been recording. Anyway, so now we have some tiles, and maybe you're not happy about them in terms of sizes and scales, but all we need to do is come back to our generator up here and perhaps change the amounts. So perhaps I do want more going up and down, and perhaps I want fewer going left to right. You know, because this is all procedural and it's all, you know, you can drive it all from here. You've got the kind of ultimate upgrades. Now, one thing that I didn't do actually was I didn't change my Y offset, and I want to, because that's not Y offset, Y random, because that is going to pull some tiles up and push some tiles down, and now we're going to get a bit of a difference, you know, a little bit more of an actual tile kind of appearance. Another thing we can do down on the masks is turn on the random mask, and that will entirely take out a tile or two, you know, until you're, you know, happy with what it looks like. There we go. So it's a bit battered, it's got some holes in the roof, and that's all good. Yeah. Okay, so happy with that. As I said, you know, we are going to do some work in Substance Painter in this to add some different zones, to put some battens on between the roof panels to hide the seams and to give it a bit more interest. But largely speaking, yeah, I think I'm done here. So what I'm going to do is right click and save, and then right click and publish SBSAR. And this is going to have a new graph in it, which is our tiled roof. So I'll generate that missing icon. Takes a moment. There we go, and I'm going to click publish. It's going to tell me it already exists because I've published it several times, so let's just republish that. Okay, right, next then we'll nip into Substance Painter and see what it looks like. So I'll talk to you then. Okay, so I'm back in Painter now, and I've got my file open from the previous tutorial, and I need to go and find that material. Where have I put it? I think it's in here. So I've got my Tailstone SBSAR that contains all three of those materials. So I'm going to drag and drop that onto my library, and then it's a base material. I'm going to do it to my Your Assets and import. And there we go. Now we've got our stone, our tiled roof, and our tailstone. And if I go to the roof material and delete my paint layer out there, I'm going to drag and drop that onto that. There we go. And now it should look more or less the same as it does in the other one, except better, because now we don't get any of the splitting. It just all works. But of course, I need to deal with these seams, and we'll do that with a little bit of a trick. So above here I'm going to add a folder, and then on the folder I'm going to add a black mask, and within that black mask we'll add a generator, and in the generator selection I'm going to pick UV border. Now this UV border is going to be basically our battens. So if I go to the mask view on material here, you'll see by default it comes in with this kind of pyramided gradient kind of shape, but we can adjust that. So if I take the balance down, for example, I'll get tighter, and if I take the contrast up, I'll start to lose that you know, that not generated but gradiented area. And if I take the balance back up again, I can control the thickness. There we go. So underneath this, anything I put in this folder will apply to that mask. that masked area. So I'm going to add a fill layer, and I'm going to drag and drop it in to the folder. Oh, it's already in the folder. Excellent. And for this then, I'm going to add in a couple of things. So first of all, I'm going to just use height, and for that height I'm going to make it a little higher, let it calculate itself, and actually I will turn the colour on so that we can see where it's doing it. So I don't know if you can see that. It might be that I don't have the height on and configured. So under my shader settings, we have this little tessellation area, and I've got height set to 0. And if I bring that up, it's not going to do a lot because I don't have enough subdivision levels in this. So I might need to put that on. Plus I'm not on the I'm not on the material view. There we go. Now it's gone nuts, obviously. So I need to turn this down to say 0.01, or maybe even 0.0. Yeah, 0.01. That's fine. But you can see that it's kind of additive to the height below it, and we want to override that. So on the folder, select the height channel and change it from L dodge to normal, and now they should just straighten up. Now you'll notice we've still got some detail on there, and that's because the normal is the same. So what we need to do there is change for the normal channel and change that to normal as well. But nothing happens, and it won't, until I have a layer with a normal on it. So I'll just turn that normal on there and we should be alright. So now from the ground, which is where I'm going to see it largely, I've got a little pointy roof with some tiles on it, and some white buttons. But of course I don't want them to be white, I want to use a wood, so I'm just going to add a wood texture into that folder, which we'll do in the next bit. Okay, so I'm just going to pop some fairly nondescript wood on this now. So let me clear that filter and just type in wood. There we go. I just want materials, and I'll take my wood rough and pop it underneath, actually over the top of our fill layer there. And now I've got some wood. I'm going to have trouble with directions, and that's my fault because of the UV, but I'm going to actually change it so that it's pointing upwards instead. So I'm going to change the rotation to say 90 degrees. I think that'll probably be a nice compromise between the two. Okay, so the colour is a little light, so let's take some of the lightness out of that. I think too much. There we go. Okay, so I mean that's about that really. We've got a roof now. All that's left to do, which we'll do in another, is, well, we've got a couple of things left to do. We've got the windows and doors, which are largely going to be wood shuttered, and we've got this little arrangement out here for the balcony. And then we're going to go in and in Substance Painter and actually paint some interesting detail, so that it's not just this all, you know, one texture fits all zones kind of deal that we've got now. So I'll talk to you in another